Hello, everyone. This is Michael from the Audible Local Ledger in Mashpee, Massachusetts, for Thursday, June 12th, reading the Providence Journal. First, let's start with the weather. Today, hazy sun and breezy, warm with a high of 87 and a low of 59. For tomorrow, partly sunny, not as warm, with a high of 75 and a low of 58. For Saturday, June 14th, showers in the morning, high of 66, low of 55. On Sunday, it'll be cloudy and a shower, cooler, with a high of 63 and a low of 53. On Monday, the sun comes back mostly sunny with a high of 67 and a low of 53. And now for the news. First article, Game Changer, an article by Wheeler Copperwaith. Construction is nearing completion at Bryant University's new $40 million fieldhouse, which is expected to open in August. Hammering, sawing, and crane beeping, the sounds at the fieldhouse at Bryant University, will soon be replaced by the roar of fans, the booming voice of announcers, and the thump of players hitting one another as the facility is set to open in August. The fieldhouse is almost complete, with walls of glass glinting in the sunlight overlooking the football field, and the last field house it is replacing on the other side. The new field house is a pivot for the university. Original plans, part of Bryant University President Ross Gittell's strategic plan, Vision 2030, called for a new combined basketball arena and field house. In all, the new field house is 43,000 square feet. Another part of the Vision 2030 plan is the new residence halls for upperclassmen, as demand to live on campus is extremely high. Then the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation gave Fidelity part of the land it had been leasing for corporate campus in Smithfield. Fidelity then donated to Bryant University along with a few acres of land. The university renovated the building at a cost of $20 million, turning it into the Business Entrepreneurship Leadership Center, which university officials refer to as the BELC. Among the buildings Bryant received was a parking garage, removing the need for additional parking on campus. The new business center is across from the highway from Bryant's main campus. It made university leadership retool its initial plans for a combined arena and field house, scaling it back to just a field house. Quote, the combination of this investment plus the new home of our College of Business, the recruitment of student athletes has really just kind of opened up for a new level of opportunity, Deputy Athletics Director John Rupert said. Many of the athletes at the school are on the top of the academic lists, including 40 of the 56 lacrosse players on the dean's list. The field house cost an estimated $40 million, including site improvements. Navigant Credit Union is donating $5 million and getting naming rights to the new field house, as well as establishing a firmer internship pipeline for Bryant students. This investment in both athletics and student and alumni experience strengthens Bryant's position as a destination of choice for student athletes and provides an extraordinary new venue for Bulldog fans, Gittell wrote in a news release. The name of this facility represents a $5 million gift and also a strong partnership that will empower students, enhance campus life, and expand engagement with the broader community. Officially, it will be the Navigant Credit Union Fieldhouse. While players can start using it at the end of August, they will be fully moved in by September. The Fieldhouse was built with a 140-person football team in mind. The current and recent size of the football team, with a space for 140 lockers. With a large team, Rupert said during a recent tour of the building, we recruit nationally and then we compete in the Coastal Athletics Association, which is very competitive. 2 other locker rooms will have space for 20 players each for the soccer teams that play on the other side of the field house. Additionally, there is 1 locker room for the softball team. Near the locker rooms are glass-enclosed treatment rooms with space for 8 treatment tables, in addition to a medical room allowing for easy treatment of on-field injuries. On the opposite side of the field house is a smaller press box and viewing area that looks over the grassy soccer field. Soccer teams can play on either grass most of the time or the artificial turf of the football field in inclement weather. The crown jewel of the field house is the Black and Gold Club Lounge. With giant windows overlooking the field, it's large enough to double as a banquet hall. Looking out from the various floor-to-ceiling windows, Rupert pointed out the rugby pitch and the baseball and softball fields. Now, this is unbelievable because you can see basically every athletic facility we have. In summer, many of the fields are obscured by trees, but in winter they're visible through the bare branches. Next article, Proposed Budget to Help Healthcare, Rhode Island Public Transit Authority. An article by Patrick Anderson and Catherine Gregg. Providence, Rhode Island House Democrats have unveiled a new $14.3 billion state budget that seeks to bolster the finances of primary care doctors, hospitals, and nursing homes without raising income taxes on the wealthy. The proposed tax and spending plan for the year starting July 1st would raise Medicaid reimbursement rates to inject, including federal dollars, $45 million into primary care, $38 million into hospitals, and $12 million into nursing homes. Funding for primary care practices would come in part from a new health insurance fee estimated to generate $30 million per year. Although it spares the well-heeled an income tax hike, the House budget resurrects a tax proposed a decade ago on second homes worth more than $1 million, branded the Taylor Swift tax after the Watch Hill vacation home of the famous pop star. The budget would inject $15 million into the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, the same amount of money lawmakers added to the statewide bus system a year ago, but less than half of the $33 million the agency says it needs to plug a budget hole and avoid service cuts. The extra RIPTA funding will come from a 3-cent per gallon hike in the gas tax, slated to go into effect July 1st, and tweaks the formula that distributes the transportation funds. A 1% gallon increase in the gas tax is already set to go into effect in July. The budget, a rewrite of the $14.2 billion tax and spending plan Governor Dan McKee proposed in January, was quickly passed by an 11-3 vote by the House Finance Committee on June 10th, setting it up for a vote before the full House on June 17th. Quote, all our colleagues have heard, the Senate has heard, and we decided that we needed to take action now, House Speaker K. Joseph Shikarki told reporters about the money needed for primary care. We've heard that our reimbursement rates are low and that the primary cause of health care shortage, we wanted to address that immediately. As expected, the House abandoned several of McKee's proposals, including a 50-cent hike in the cigarette tax, buying an office building from Citizens Bank in East Providence, and a tax on digital advertising that the governor hoped would pull in $9.5 million next year and $23.5 million annually by 2030. But the House budget agreed with the governor on other proposals, including a new fee on electric vehicles and charging the state's 5% hotel tax to short-term rentals of whole homes on sites such as Airbnb. Other budget highlights include truck tolls. The House accepted McKee's plan to turn on the legal again tolls on tractor trailers in the first half of 2026 and collect an estimated $10 million in state revenue. Washington Bridge, $22 million in state dollars to match federal fundings to build a new westbound Washington Bridge. Education, the House proposal would spend $16.5 million more on education than McKee proposed and $59 million more than the current year budget. Homelessness, an increase in the real estate conveyance tax on properties worth more than $800,000, and part of the hotel tax collections from whole home rentals will go to services for the unhoused Rhode Islanders. Airbnb extends the 5% hotel tax to whole house rentals, something lawmakers rejected last year, but McKee's budget expects will generate $4.7 million a year. the DMV. A $1 tax hike in the Division of Motor Vehicles technology fee to $3.50 per transaction. Superman building. The House budget included a provision already passed as a standalone bill in the Senate that would exempt the owner of the vacant land Industrial Trust Tower in Providence from sales tax on construction materials while claiming a maximum in other state incentives. Parking. The state's 7% sales tax would be charged to parking, generating $3.2 million a year. Nicotine pouches. The tax applied to the wholesale cost of tobacco products would be expanded to synthetic nicotine pouches such as Zine, generating $12 million a year. Longtime advocates of increasing taxes on Rhode Island's highest-earning residents hoped the budget pressure facing the state this year would convince top lawmakers that the time was now right to do it. They proposed a 3% surcharge on income above $625,000, which was estimated to generate $190 million in annual revenue. And as lawmakers waited for the final details of the budget to be hammered out on June 10th, the Working Families Party camped outside the State House with a box truck showing illuminated messages of support for a tax hike, such as, quote, "Save Rhode Island, tax the rich." But Shekarchi told reporters that lawmakers decided against the tax hike, at least until the state knows whether Congress is going to pass a tax cut bill that could slash Medicaid funding and shift more costs to the states. Quote, "We don't know what's going to happen in Washington," Shekarchi said. Quote, "We don't know what changes are going to be made in the federal tax code. We felt comfortable enough to do non-owner occupied taxes over $1 million at this time, and we will revisit the issue when we have more clarity from Washington." Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, with $15 million from the budget to fill a $33 million projected shortfall, it looks as though RIPTA is going to need to scale back what it does. But Shekarchi said it would not necessarily mean large layoffs or route cuts. Quote, "I think they need to look at everything," he said. Maybe it's smaller buses. Maybe it's addressing the ride schedule. Maybe it's a slight fare increase. Maybe it's looking at management positions. That's why we mandated when we gave them $15 million last year that they do an efficiency study and find out solutions. End of article. Next article, students fight to save Exeter's Job Corps from the administration. An article by Tom Mooney. Students and staff members at the Exeter Job Corps Center speak out on June 6th against the Trump administration's plans to pause operations at the 99 Job Corps programs around the country. Exeter. Aurora Bentley came running when she heard the Trump administration had suspended operations at Rhode Island's Job Corps Center, along with 98 other centers, campuses around the country. Last year, the 19-year-old who struggled at Chario High School graduated from the federally financed program, where she lived with more than 100 other students from low-income backgrounds and earned a GED and a welding certificate. With those credentials, she said she landed a full-time job at the Cranston engineering firm Tealch, where she works in a laboratory analyzing the strength of concrete and soil compaction. On June 6th, she was outside the center speaking at a podium to reporters and dozens of Job Corps workers, students, and supporters like U.S. Senator Jack Reed, who pushed for the center's opening in 2004, urging them to fight any closure. Quote, "This place changed my life," said Bentley. Job Corps is where people who have dropped out of and struggled, who couldn't find their way in public school, come and they find their way. I work at a place where I can now further my education, something I never thought I would be able to do because my family doesn't come from money. We all don't have the same resources some people do. But Job Corps was that resource for me. I now have a 401k. She enrolled in Job Corps because I took the chance to better myself. That's what everyone here is trying to do, become a better person. And who are they to say that they shouldn't be able to be better people? On May 29th, the Trump administration ordered a pause in all operations at 99 Job Corps centers, saying that they were underperforming and faced, quote, significant financial challenges. The centers, which Reed's office says serve about 25,000 youths nationwide between the ages of 16 and 24, are run by private contractors. In Exeter, nearly all of the center's 120 students live on campus dormitories where they attend free job training in career fields such as culinary arts, medical assistance, and manufacturing. In a statement, U.S. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer said Job Corps was created to help young adults build a pathway to a better life through education, training, and community. However, a startling number of serious incident reports and our in-depth fiscal analysis reveal the program is no longer achieving the intended outcome that students deserve. The Labor Department said the program, first established in the 1960s, had a $140 million deficit last fiscal year, and that the deficit was projected to reach $213 million this year. And it said in a transparency report found that the graduation rate was 38.6 at an average cost per student of more than $80,000 a year. Participants went on to earn on an average of $16,695 a year. But during a recent Appropriations Committee hearing, Reed challenged the Labor Secretary, calling her analysis misleading. Reed noted that the data for the Labor Department report was taken during the pandemic, when Job Corps enrollment was 34%. Today, enrollment is at 75%, he said. Quote, and if you ran those numbers today, said Reed, the cost per student would go down dramatically, so that your argument that this is a waste and too expensive is a calculated result of picking the most favorable point you could to reinforce an argument, I suspect, the administration had before you even got here, which is let's get rid of this program. Chavez DeRemer said Reed's statement was untrue and that there were other problems with the program besides cost, including violence in the residential campuses. Many of these students were, quote, in harm's way, she told Reed. Reed said Job Corps in Rhode Island produced skilled workers who were a key aspect to our submarine production at Electric Boat in Quonset, and without them the nation would fall behind in submarine production. The Labor Secretary said she supported the need for skilled apprentices and would work with Reed. My goal is not to forget this population and work with you all. On June 4th, a federal judge halted for now any attempt by the Trump administration to shut down the Job Corps program. Sitting in Manhattan, U.S. District Court Judge Andrew Carter issued a temporary restraining order in a lawsuit filed on behalf of the private contractors that operate Job Corps centers around the country. Carter ordered the Labor Department to appear at a court hearing on June 17th. The Job Corps was created in 1964 by R. Sargent Shriver, director of the Office of Economic Opportunity under President Lyndon Johnson, a brother-in-law of President John F. Kennedy. Shriver also founded the Peace Corps, Head Start, and other social programs. Rhode Island made its first application for a Job Corps center in 1993, the Journal reported. At the time, it was only one of 4 states without one. There were others, New Hampshire, Wyoming, and Delaware. Of those 4 states, Rhode Island then had the highest number of youths in poverty, 16,116, and its unemployment rate for youths ages 16 to 19 was 5.4% higher than the New England average. But the request was rejected because the proposed site in Cranston was too close to the state prison. Federal officials thought that it would send an inappropriate message to the students. The state tried again in 1995, this time proposing the Exeter site, where the Massachusetts physician Joseph H. Ladd had established his school for people with disabilities in 1908. But the state's application was never considered as Congress cut funding set aside to fund new Job Corps sites. Finally, in 2004, the local Job Corps Center opened on the grounds of the former Ladd Center with the help of Reed, who co-authored the legislation, and others. It employs a staff of about 85. Reed, Trump was ready to throw these kids out on the street. Standing outside the center on Friday, Reed told the assembled workers and students he was determined to help keep the center open, noting some students have no home to go back to. The Trump administration was, quote, quite literally ready to throw these kids out on the street, he said. We're not going to let that happen. Reed said he was working with congressional colleagues on both sides of the aisle to ensure the Job Corps centers remain open. After his public remarks, Reed chatted with several students, such as Bentley, who spoke of how the center had changed their lives. Speaking to the Journal, Reed said the Job Corps program was an engine for opportunity for youths looking to find their way in the world and would otherwise could potentially end up a burden in society, not contributing to the economy or society. This is a great investment in the future of our country, end quote. The Trump administration wants to shut it down, Reed said, because they're desperately looking for money to cover their tax cuts. So what they do is take from the needy and give to the greedy. End of the article. Next article. Small changes ahead with Providence's new trash contract. An article by Nish Kohli. Providence residential trash and recycling pickup process has some slight changes starting July 1st. The aim of the tweaks is to, quote, improve customer service, to operate more sustainability, and to save the city money in the long run, but on a day-to-day basis, little will change for residents. Quote, it's about increasing efficiency, said City Councilwoman Joanne Ryan, who spent last year chairing a committee that researched Providence's waste management and areas for improvement. Quote, I don't think there's going to be a big change, but there'll be less of a disruption in service. Bulky waste, white goods, and mattresses pickup fee coming to Providence customers. The city reinstated its partnership with private contractor Waste Management for another 5 years under a $57.6 million contract. Currently, Providence doesn't charge residents for picking up bulky items such as furniture or large electrical appliances such as refrigerators or laundry machines known as white goods. The new contract will include a per-item collection fee, an initiative that Mayor Brett Smiley encouraged in the latest city budget. From July 2025 until July 2026, the following prices will apply for each pickup. $20 per bulky item, $35 per white good, $33 per mattress. The price for each item will increase by 2 to 3 every year until 2029. New trucks and new bins are coming. The contract also features an investment in 5 new trucks and ensures that none of the fleet's trucks will be more than 10 years old. The younger trucks should help mitigate the occasional disruptions in trash collection that the city experiences, said Ryan. The new vehicles will come with cameras that can automatically detect contaminated recycling loads. As of 2024, Providence had the lowest recycling rate in Rhode Island. Part of the problem is that people incorrectly mix non-recyclable materials into the recycling bins, Ryan said. If more than 10% of a load is contaminated with those materials, the whole load gets rejected for recycling, and the city has to pay an extra fee to reroute it to the landfill. Along with the truck detection cameras, the city plans to roll out new trash and recycling bins with text on them that describes which goods are allowed inside. Quote, engaging the community more in the trash process. That's what's going to be different, said Ryan. If we do this well, we'll reduce the tonnage of waste sent to the central landfill. End of article. Next article. Police, child administers Narcan to mother during apparent OD. An article by Mark Reynolds. A 10-year-old child administered Narcan in telephone 911 in response to a Portsmouth woman's apparent drug overdose, police said on June 10th. An investigation into the June 5th incident led to the arrest of the child's mother the following day, according to Portsmouth Police Major Michael Morse. The 44-year-old woman faces a charge of child endangerment. Police had gone to the home at 7:32 p.m. on June 5th to find a, quote, dangerous setting for a child. said Morse, who cited the accessibility of narcotics on the scene. Officers saw signs that the woman had experienced an overdose, he said. In the past, the child had received guidance from a family member about how to administer Narcan to revive someone from experiencing an overdose, police said. Narcan is the brand name for an antidote that can reverse drug overdoses. The child had also read instructions on the packaging, police said. The child's mother acknowledged her own drug use and that narcotics and narcotics paraphernalia were in the home and accessible to the child, police said. The Department of Children, Youth, and Families was notified, and the agency is keeping the child safe, said Morse. The child's mother was arraigned and released on bail, and she's now prohibited from having contact with the child as a bail condition, police said. End of article. Final article. Middletown man identified in fatal crash. The Portsmouth police have identified the man killed following a motorcycle crash on June 5th. According to police, Juan Pablo Garcia Castro, 36, of Middleton, died on June 9th from injuries suffered in the crash. Police said that at approximately 4:02 p.m. on June 5th, the Portsmouth Police Department responded to the area of West Main Road at the Route 24 North on-ramp for a reported motor vehicle crash involving one motorcycle. Officers were advised that the operator of the motorcycle appeared unconscious and unresponsive. The Portsmouth Fire Department was notified and also responded to the scene. Route 24 North at the on-ramp was closed and all traffic was diverted to allow first responders to provide aid and to investigate the crash. Garcia Castro was then transported by the Portsmouth Fire to St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River, Massachusetts, and subsequently airlifted to Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. Police said a preliminary investigation revealed that Garcia Castro was traveling north on West Main Road and entered Route 24 North in the left lane. As the motorcycle entered the curve of the highway, it changed lanes and then struck a guardrail, causing Garcia Castro to be ejected. The motorcycle then continued to travel after the impact before coming to rest. Police said Garcia Castro had been wearing a helmet at the time of the crash. That's all I have for the news today. This is Michael from the Audible Local Ledger in Mashpee, Massachusetts, signing off. Thanks for listening.